My friends, if you have found your way to these words, I want you to know that this is not by chance. There are no accidents in the universe, only appointments we keep with truth when our souls are ready to receive it. I have spent decades in the quiet observation of humanity, in the reading of patterns that move beneath the surface of what we call history. And I have walked alongside thousands of souls who carried questions too heavy for ordinary conversation. What I am about to share with you in these moments is not meant to frighten you, though it may unsettle the foundations you stand upon. It is meant to awaken you to a reality that is already unfolding, a transformation so profound that the very maps we use to understand our world will soon need to be redrawn, not just on paper, but in the geography of our consciousness itself. You are here because something inside you has been whispering that the world you knew is changing in ways that cannot be explained by politics alone, by economics alone, by climate alone. You have felt it in your bones, in your dreams, in the strange synchronicities that have multiplied in your life. You have sensed that we are standing at a threshold unlike any other in recorded memory. And you are right. What I am going to reveal to you is a pattern I have observed through the readings, through the symbols that emerge when we look beyond the veil of the material world. A pattern that suggests the United States and Europe as we know them are approaching a moment of radical reconfiguration. This is both a warning and an invitation. It is a warning because those who remain asleep will experience this transformation as catastrophe. It is an invitation because those who awaken to its deeper meaning will discover that every ending contains within it the seed of a new beginning, and that we are not victims of fate, but participants in a cosmic drama of consciousness evolution. Before we go further, I want to ask you something. If you feel that what I am sharing resonates with something you have been sensing, if you recognize that you have been called to understand these times more deeply, I invite you to subscribe to this channel. This is not ordinary content. What we discuss here is what others will not speak of, the hidden currents beneath the surface of events, the spiritual architecture of change. And I ask you to stay with me until the very end of this message, because what I will share in the final moments may be the most important key of all. Also, when we finish, I want you to leave a comment telling me this. Have you had dreams or visions of maps changing, of land shifting, of borders dissolving? Because I believe many of you have, and your experiences are part of the collective awakening that is already underway. And if you know someone who needs to hear this, someone who has been feeling the tremors of change but cannot name them, share this with them. It may be the lifeline they have been searching for. Now, let us begin by understanding what it means when I say that the United States and Europe will be redrawn. I am not speaking merely of political boundaries, though those will indeed shift. I am speaking of something far more fundamental, a reorganization of the energetic and physical landscape itself, a transformation that operates on multiple levels simultaneously: the geological, the political, the economic, the spiritual. You see, the Earth is not a dead rock spinning in space. It is a living being, conscious in ways we have forgotten, responsive to the collective consciousness of humanity. And when humanity reaches certain thresholds of imbalance, when the weight of our choices, our greed, our disconnection from the sacred becomes too great, the Earth herself responds. She must. It is her nature to seek equilibrium, to restore balance, and that restoration often comes in forms we experience as upheaval. In the readings I have conducted over the years, I have seen images of coastal regions transformed, of cities that now stand proud, reduced to memory, of lands that were once fertile becoming barren, and of deserts blooming where there was once only sand. I have seen the eastern seaboard of the United States altered dramatically, with waters claiming territories that millions now call home. I have seen portions of Europe, particularly the low-lying regions, submerged beneath rising seas, and I have seen new lands emerging in places we did not expect. But here is what most people miss when they hear such prophecies. These physical changes are not arbitrary punishments from an angry God. They are the outer manifestation of inner imbalances, the material reflection of spiritual crises that we have refused to address. Think of it this way. Imagine that the Earth is a mirror, and what we see in the physical world is the reflection of our collective inner state. For decades, for centuries, humanity in the West, and I speak now particularly of the United States and Europe, has operated under a paradigm of domination, extraction, and separation. We have treated the Earth as a resource to be exploited, other nations as competitors to be defeated, and even our own souls as commodities to be optimized for productivity. We have built empires on the backs of the vulnerable. We have consumed without gratitude. We have disconnected from the rhythms of nature, from the wisdom of indigenous peoples, from the quiet voice of spirit that speaks in stillness. And all of this imbalance has been accumulating in the energetic field of our planet, creating pressure, creating tension, creating the conditions for a great release. The redrawing of the United States and Europe is that release. It is the Earth's way of saying, enough, we must return to balance. And it is also humanity's opportunity to say, yes, we are ready to remember who we truly are. Because you see, my friends, every crisis is an initiation. Every breakdown is a breakthrough waiting to happen. The question is not whether these changes will come. The question is how we will meet them. Will we meet them with fear, with resistance, with the desperate clinging to a world that is already dying? Or will we meet them with courage, with openness, with the understanding that we are being invited into a new way of being? Let me take you deeper into what I have seen. In the visions that have come through the readings, I have observed that the transformation of these lands is not uniform. There are certain areas that will be affected more dramatically than others, and there are certain areas that will become refuges, places of relative safety and stability. The eastern coast of the United States, particularly from New York down through Florida, is vulnerable. The low-lying areas, the coastal cities, the regions that have been built on the assumption that the sea will always remain where it is. These are the places that will experience the most dramatic changes. I have seen waters rising, not gradually over centuries, but in surges, in events that seem to come suddenly, though in truth they have been building for a long time. The western coast, too, is not immune. The Pacific Northwest, California, these regions sit on fault lines, both geological and metaphorical. The earth beneath them is restless, and that restlessness will express itself. I have seen images of the ground shaking, of landscapes fracturing, of the very shape of the coastline being altered. And yet, there are also inland areas, places in the heartland, places that have been overlooked and undervalued, that will become centers of stability, places where communities will gather, where new ways of living will be pioneered. In Europe, the pattern is similar but distinct. The Netherlands, Belgium, parts of the United Kingdom, these low-lying regions are at great risk. I have seen the North Sea expanding, reclaiming lands that were once taken from it. I have seen Venice, that jewel of human creativity, struggling against waters that will no longer be held back. I have seen the Mediterranean itself shifting, its coastlines redrawn, its islands transformed. And in the north, in Scandinavia, I have seen both challenge and opportunity, regions that will face their own upheavals, but also regions that will become beacons of a new way of organizing society, of relating to the earth, of honoring the sacred. But let me be very clear about something, because I do not want you to hear this as a message of doom. Yes, there will be loss. Yes, there will be grief. Yes, there will be moments when it seems that everything we have built is crumbling. But within that crumbling is the possibility of liberation. You see, the structures that will fall are the structures that have been holding us captive, the systems of inequality, of exploitation, of disconnection. The maps that will be redrawn are not just geographical maps. They are the maps of power, of wealth, of who gets to decide how we live. And when those old maps dissolve, we will have the opportunity to draw new ones, maps based on cooperation instead of competition, on sustainability instead of extraction, on reverence instead of domination. This is where the spiritual dimension of this transformation becomes so important. Because if we approach these changes only from a place of fear, only from a desire to survive, we will miss the deeper invitation. The invitation is to evolve, to become more fully human, to remember that we are not separate from the earth, not separate from each other, not separate from the divine intelligence that moves through all things. The redrawing of the United States and Europe is not just about physical geography. It is about the redrawing of consciousness itself, the dissolution of the old paradigm and the birth of the new. Now, I want to speak to those of you who are feeling a sense of urgency, a sense that time is running out. You are not wrong. We are in the final warning phase. The signs have been given again and again. The extreme weather events, the social unrest, the economic instability, the rise of authoritarianism, the collapse of ecosystems. These are not separate crises. They are all expressions of the same fundamental imbalance. And the earth, in her wisdom, is giving us one last chance to wake up, to change course, to align ourselves with the deeper currents of life. But this chance will not last forever. There is a window, and that window is closing. What does this mean for you, personally? It means that you have a choice to make, and you must make it now. Not someday, not when things get worse, but now. The choice is this. Will you continue to live as if the old world is going to last forever? Or will you begin to prepare, inwardly and outwardly, for the world that is coming? Preparing inwardly means doing the spiritual work, the work of releasing fear, of cultivating trust, of deepening your connection to the source of all life. It means learning to listen to your intuition, to the quiet voice within that knows things your rational mind cannot grasp. It means making peace with uncertainty, with change, with the unknown. And preparing outwardly means making practical choices, choices about where you live, how you live, what you invest your energy in, who you surround yourself with. I have seen in the readings that those who will navigate these times most gracefully are not necessarily those with the most resources, though resources can help. They are those with the most resilience, the most adaptability, the most connection to community and to spirit. They are those who have learned to live simply, to grow their own food, to rely on each other, to find joy in the small things. They are those who have not placed all their faith in the systems of the old world, in governments, in corporations, in the promise that technology will save us. They are those who have remembered the old ways, the ways of living in harmony with the earth, of honoring the cycles of nature, of recognizing that we are part of a web of life, not masters of it. Let me share with you a vision that came through one of the readings, a vision that has stayed with me because of its clarity and its power. I saw a map of the United States, but it was not the map we know today. The coastlines were different, the borders were different, and there were regions marked in different colors, each color representing a different energy, a different quality of consciousness. Some regions were dark, heavy, places where fear and chaos predominated. Other regions were bright, luminous, places where communities had come together in love and cooperation, where new forms of governance had emerged, where the land was being healed and honored. And I understood that the redrawing of the map was not just about physical changes. It was about the separation of timelines, the divergence of realities. Those who chose fear would experience one reality, and those who chose love would experience another. And while they might occupy the same physical space for a time, they would be living in fundamentally different worlds. This is the mystery of these times, my friends. We are not all going to experience the same future. The future is not fixed. It is fluid, responsive to our choices, to our consciousness. And the great sorting that is happening now, the polarization we see in politics, in culture, in families, this is part of the process. We are choosing, consciously or unconsciously, which timeline we will inhabit, which reality we will create. And the redrawing of the United States and Europe is the stage upon which this choosing will become visible, undeniable, irreversible. Now, I want to address something that may be troubling some of you. You may be thinking, but what about my family? What about my home? What about everything I have worked for? And I understand that concern. It is human. It is natural. But I want to invite you to consider a deeper question. What is it that you truly value? Is it the physical structures, the possessions, the status, the security that the old world promised? Or is it something more essential? The love you share, the connections you have, the growth of your soul, the opportunity to be of service in a time of great need. Because here is the truth that the readings have shown me again and again. You cannot take the old world with you into the new. You can only take what is real, what is true, what is eternal. And that is your consciousness, your love, your courage, your compassion. The redrawing of the maps is also the redrawing of our priorities, the redrawing of our values. It is forcing us to ask, what really matters? And for many, the answer will be painful, because they will realize that they have spent their lives chasing things that have no lasting value, building on foundations that were always unstable. But for those who are willing to let go, for those who are willing to surrender the illusion of control, there is a profound freedom waiting. The freedom to live authentically, to love fully, to serve deeply. I want to speak now about the role of the United States and Europe in the largest story of human evolution. These regions have, for the past several centuries, been the centers of power, the drivers of what we call progress, the shapers of global culture. And there has been much that is beautiful in that, much innovation, much creativity, much exploration of human potential. But there has also been much shadow, much exploitation, much arrogance, much forgetting of the sacred. The indigenous peoples of the Americas, the colonized peoples of Africa and Asia, the earth herself, all have borne the cost of this so-called progress. And now the bill is coming due. The redrawing of these lands is, in a sense, a rebalancing of the global energy. It is the universe saying, the age of Western dominance is ending. A new age is beginning, an age in which power will be more distributed, in which wisdom will be sought from many sources, in which the voices that have been silenced will finally be heard. This is not about punishment. It is about evolution. It is about humanity as a whole taking the next step in its journey. And that step requires that those who have held power must learn to share it, must learn to listen, must learn to serve rather than dominate. For those of you living in the United States and Europe, this may feel like a loss, and in some ways it is. But it is also an opportunity to be freed from the burden of empire, from the weight of trying to control the world, from the exhaustion of maintaining systems that were never sustainable. It is an opportunity to return to something more human scale, more connected, more real. It is an opportunity to rediscover what it means to be part of a community, part of a place, part of the earth. I have been asked many times, when will these changes happen? Can you give us a timeline? And I must tell you honestly, the timing is not fixed. It depends on our collective choices, on the speed at which we awaken, on the degree to which we resist or embrace the transformation. But I can say this, the process has already begun. The signs are all around us. The question is not if, but how quickly and how dramatically. And I can also say this, we are in the final warning phase. The next decade, the next few years even, will be critical. The choices we make now will determine the severity of the changes and the speed with which we can move through them into the new world that is waiting to be born. So what can you do? First, as I said before, do the inner work. Meditate, pray, connect with nature, listen to your intuition. Heal your traumas, release your fears, forgive yourself and others. Cultivate gratitude, compassion, and trust. These are not luxuries, they are necessities. Your inner state will determine your outer experience more than any external preparation. Second, make practical preparations. If you live in a vulnerable area, consider relocating, or at least have a plan for where you would go if you needed to leave quickly. Build community. Get to know your neighbors. Create networks of mutual support. Learn practical skills, gardening, food preservation, first aid, conflict resolution. Reduce your dependence on fragile systems, on long supply chains, on centralized power grids. And third, be of service. Find ways to help others, to share what you know, to offer comfort and guidance. This is not a time for hoarding, for isolating, for thinking only of your own survival. This is a time for coming together, for remembering that we are all in this together, that we rise or fall as one. I want to share with you another vision, one that gives me great hope. I saw communities scattered across the transformed landscape, small groups of people who had come together with a shared intention to live differently, to honor the earth, to support each other, to create beauty and meaning in the midst of chaos. These communities were diverse, people of different backgrounds, different beliefs, different skills, all united by a common commitment to love, to service, to consciousness. And I saw that these communities were like seeds, seeds of the new world, and that even though the old world was crumbling around them, they were thriving, they were joyful, they were alive in a way that the old world had never allowed. This is what is possible, my friends. This is the promise hidden within the warning. Yes, the maps will be redrawn. Yes, there will be loss and grief. But there will also be rebirth, renewal, regeneration. There will be the opportunity to create something beautiful, something true, something sustainable. And you who are hearing these words, you are being called to be part of that creation. You are being called to be a seed carrier, a light bearer, a bridge between the old world and the new. Now, let me speak about the specific energies that are at play in this transformation, because understanding these energies will help you navigate what is coming. There is, first, the energy of purification. The earth is cleansing herself, releasing toxins, releasing imbalances, releasing the accumulated weight of human unconsciousness. This purification will manifest as natural disasters, as the breakdown of systems, as the exposure of corruption and lies. It will be uncomfortable, it will be disorienting, but it is necessary. You cannot build a healthy new world on a toxic foundation. The old must be cleared away. Second, there is the energy of revelation. Secrets will be exposed, truths will come to light, the hidden will become visible. This applies to governments, to corporations, to institutions, but it also applies to individuals. You will be confronted with your own shadows, your own denials, your own complicity in the systems that are failing. This is not to shame you, it is to free you, because you cannot heal what you do not acknowledge, and you cannot change what you do not see. The revelation is a gift, even when it is painful. Third, there is the energy of initiation. We are being tested individually and collectively. We are being asked to prove that we are ready for the next level of consciousness, the next level of responsibility. And the test is simple. Can we choose love over fear? Can we choose cooperation over competition? Can we choose the long-term health of the whole over the short-term gain of the few? This is the initiation, and how we respond will determine the world we create. And fourth, there is the energy of emergence. Even as the old world dies, the new world is being born. It is being born in the hearts of those who are awakening, in the communities that are forming, in the innovations that are arising, in the consciousness that is shifting. This emergence is fragile. It needs to be protected, nurtured, supported. But it is real. It is happening, and it is unstoppable. The future is already here. It is just not evenly distributed yet. I want to speak directly now to those of you who have been having dreams, visions, intuitions about these changes. You are not crazy. You are not imagining things. You are tuning in to the collective consciousness, into the Earth's consciousness, into the field of information that surrounds us all. Your dreams of floods, of earthquakes, of maps changing, these are not just personal symbols. They are messages from the larger intelligence that is guiding this transformation. Pay attention to them, write them down, share them with others. They are part of the guidance system that is available to us if we are willing to listen. And I want to speak to those of you who are feeling called to move, to relocate, to change your life in significant ways. Trust that calling. Do not let fear or practicality talk you out of it. There is a wisdom in your body, in your soul, that knows things your mind cannot figure out. If you are being called to a certain place, to a certain community, to a certain way of life, honor that. It may not make sense now, but it will. You are being positioned energetically and physically for the times ahead. Now let me address a question that I know is on many minds. What about technology? What about the systems we depend on? Will the internet survive? Will the power grid survive? Will the financial system survive? And the answer is complex. Some systems will adapt, will evolve, will find new forms. Other systems will collapse, will become obsolete, will be replaced by something entirely different. The key is not to become dependent on any one system, but to cultivate resilience, adaptability, the ability to function in multiple scenarios. Learn to live with less technology. Learn to communicate face to face. Learn to entertain yourself without screens. Learn to find information in books, in nature, in conversation. This does not mean rejecting technology. It means not being enslaved by it. I also want to speak about the financial dimension of this transformation, because I know many of you are concerned about money, about savings, about security. And I must tell you, the financial systems as we know them are among the most fragile, the most vulnerable to collapse. They are built on debt, on speculation, on the illusion of infinite growth on a finite planet. They cannot survive the transition we are entering. So what does this mean for you? It means that your true wealth is not in your bank account. It is in your skills, your relationships, your health, your connection to the land. It means that you should not put all your faith in money, but should invest in things that have real, tangible value, in tools, in seeds, in knowledge, in community. And it means that you should be prepared for a time when money may not function the way it does now, when barter, when gift economy, when mutual aid may become more important than currency. But again, I do not share this to frighten you. I share it so that you can prepare, so that you can make wise choices, so that you can be part of the solution rather than part of the problem. Because here is the beautiful truth. When the old systems collapse, we have the opportunity to create new systems, systems that actually serve life, that honor the earth, that distribute resources fairly, that recognize the inherent worth of every being. This is the opportunity hidden within the crisis. Let me take you now into a deeper layer of understanding. The redrawing of the United States and Europe is not just a physical or political event. It is a mythic event, an archetypal event. It is the death of the old king, the collapse of the old order, the end of an age. And in the mythic realm, such endings are always followed by a period of chaos, a period of wandering in the wilderness before the new order can emerge. We are entering that wilderness now, and the question is, how will we navigate it? In the old myths, the hero who survives the wilderness is the one who has allies, who has skills, who has faith, who has a sense of purpose. The hero is not the strongest or the richest, but the one who is most aligned with the deeper currents of life, the one who can read the signs, the one who can adapt, the one who can find meaning in suffering. This is the archetype we are being called to embody now. We are all being called to be heroes, not in the sense of individual glory, but in the sense of service to the whole, of courage in the face of the unknown, of trust in the journey even when we cannot see the destination. And there is another archetype at play here, the archetype of the sacred marriage, the union of opposites. The old world was built on separation, on the division between spirit and matter, between masculine and feminine, between humanity and nature, between self and other. The new world that is being born is built on integration, on the recognition that these apparent opposites are actually two sides of the same coin, that they need each other, that they complete each other. The redrawing of the maps is, in a sense, the dissolution of the old boundaries, the old separations, so that a new wholeness can emerge. This is why the transformation is so disorienting, so challenging. It is asking us to let go of the very categories we have used to make sense of the world, to navigate reality. It is asking us to embrace paradox, to hold multiple truths simultaneously, to live in the tension between the old and the new. This is not easy. It requires a level of consciousness that most of us have not been trained for. But it is also exhilarating, liberating, because it opens up possibilities that we could not even imagine within the old paradigm. I want to speak now about the role of suffering in this transformation, because I know that many of you will suffer. Many of you already are suffering. And I want to acknowledge that suffering is real. It is valid. It is not something to be bypassed or spiritually bypassed. Loss is loss. Grief is grief. Pain is pain. But I also want to offer you a perspective that may help you find meaning in the suffering, that may help you transform it into something sacred. In the spiritual traditions, suffering is often seen as a doorway, a portal to deeper wisdom, to greater compassion, to a more profound connection with the divine. When we suffer, when we are broken open, we have the opportunity to let go of the ego's defenses, to surrender the illusion of control, to touch the raw truth of our existence. And in that touching, in that vulnerability, we often find a strength we did not know we had, a love we did not know we were capable of, a clarity we could not access when we were comfortable and secure. So if you find yourself suffering in the times ahead, I invite you to ask yourself, what is this suffering teaching me? What is it asking me to release? What is it opening me to? How can I use this experience to become more compassionate, more wise, more alive? This does not mean that you should seek suffering, or that you should not do everything you can to alleviate it for yourself and others. But it does mean that when suffering comes, as it inevitably will, you have a choice about how to meet it, and that choice can make all the difference. Now, I want to return to the practical level for a moment, because I know some of you are wondering about specific locations, about where to go, where to be. And while I cannot give you a one-size-fits-all answer, I can offer some general guidance based on what I have seen in the readings. First, avoid the coasts, especially the low-lying coastal areas. If you are in a major coastal city, consider moving inland to higher ground. Second, look for areas that have access to fresh water, to arable land, to natural resources. These will be the areas that can sustain life when supply chains break down. Third, look for areas that have a strong sense of community, where people know each other, where there is a culture of cooperation and mutual aid. Fourth, trust your intuition. If a place feels right, if it calls to you, that is significant. Your soul knows where you need to be. And remember, there is no perfectly safe place. Every location will have its challenges, its vulnerabilities. The goal is not to find a place where nothing bad will happen, but to find a place where you can thrive, where you can contribute, where you can be part of the solution. And most importantly, remember that your inner state is more important than your outer location. A person who is centered, who is connected to Source, who is living in love, can navigate challenges that would destroy someone who is fearful, disconnected, and living in survival mode. Let me share with you one more vision, and then I will begin to bring this message to a close. I saw a time, not too far in the future, when the old maps had been redrawn, when the coastlines had shifted, when the political boundaries had dissolved, when the old systems had collapsed. And I saw people, millions of people, wandering, displaced, grieving, confused. But I also saw, scattered among them, individuals who were different, who were calm, who were clear, who were radiating a kind of light. And these individuals became gathering points, became centers around which new communities formed. People were drawn to them, not because they had all the answers, not because they were perfect, but because they were present, because they were loving, because they were serving. And I understood that this is the role that many of you are being prepared for. You are being trained through your own struggles, through your own awakening, to be one of those gathering points, one of those centers of stability in a time of chaos. You are being asked to do your inner work now, to heal your wounds now, to develop your gifts now, so that when the time comes, you will be ready. You will be able to hold space for others, to offer guidance, to be a beacon of hope. This is not about being special or being chosen in some exclusive way. It is about being willing, being available, being of service. And I want you to know that you do not have to be perfect to do this. You do not have to have it all figured out. You just have to be willing to show up, to be honest, to keep learning, to keep growing, to keep loving. That is enough. That is more than enough. I want to speak now about the practical steps you can take to prepare yourself, not just physically, but spiritually, for the transformation that is coming. Because preparation is not about building bunkers and hoarding supplies, though some practical measures are wise. True preparation is about cultivating the inner qualities that will allow you to remain centered, compassionate, and clear-headed when the world around you is in chaos. It is about developing the spiritual muscles that will carry you through the dark night of collective transformation. The first practice I recommend is daily meditation or contemplative prayer. This is not optional, my friends. In the times ahead, your ability to access inner stillness, to hear the quiet voice of guidance, to distinguish between the voice of fear and the voice of wisdom will be essential. Set aside time each day, even if it is just 10 or 15 minutes, to sit in silence, to breathe, to connect with the source of all life. In that silence, you will find strength. In that connection, you will find clarity. And over time, you will build a reservoir of peace that you can draw upon when external circumstances become overwhelming. The second practice is to develop a relationship with the natural world. Go outside, walk barefoot on the earth, sit by a tree, listen to the birds, watch the sunset, feel the wind on your face. The earth is your greatest teacher, your most reliable ally. She will show you how to adapt, how to let go, how to trust the cycles of death and rebirth. And as you develop this relationship, you will begin to sense the changes that are coming, not through fear, but through attunement. You will know when it is time to move, when it is time to stay, when it is time to act, when it is time to wait. The third practice is to cultivate gratitude. Every day, find something to be grateful for, no matter how small. Gratitude is not just a nice feeling, it is a powerful spiritual technology. It shifts your vibration, it opens your heart, it aligns you with the frequency of abundance rather than scarcity. And in times of crisis, those who can maintain gratitude will be the ones who can see opportunities where others see only disaster, who can find beauty where others see only destruction. The fourth practice is forgiveness. This is perhaps the most difficult, but also the most important. Forgive yourself for your mistakes, for your unconsciousness, for the ways you have contributed to the imbalance. Forgive others for their mistakes, for their unconsciousness, for the harm they have caused. This does not mean condoning harmful behavior. It means releasing the energetic weight of resentment, of blame, of victimhood. Because as long as you are carrying that weight, you cannot move forward. You cannot be of service. You cannot embody the new consciousness that is trying to be born. And the fifth practice is service. Find ways every day to be of help to others. It does not have to be grand or dramatic. A kind word, a listening ear, a helping hand. These simple acts create ripples of love in the collective field, and they remind you that you are not alone, that we are all connected, that your well-being and the well-being of others are inseparable. Now let me speak about the role of community in the times ahead. I cannot stress this enough. You will not survive this transformation alone. The old paradigm celebrated the rugged individual, the self-made person, the one who needed no one. But that paradigm is dying, and good riddance. The new paradigm recognizes that we are interdependent, that we need each other, that our strength lies in our connections, not in our isolation. So if you do not already have a community, start building one now. This does not mean you need to join a formal organization or move to an intentional community, though those may be options for some. It simply means getting to know your neighbors, building relationships of trust and mutual support, creating networks of people who share your values, who are also awake to what is happening, who are committed to navigating these times with consciousness and compassion. In the readings, I have seen that the communities that will thrive in the new world are those that are built on certain principles. First, they are diverse. They include people of different ages, different backgrounds, different skills, different perspectives. This diversity is not a weakness. It is a strength, because it means the community has access to a wider range of knowledge, experience, and creativity. Second, they are egalitarian. There is no rigid hierarchy, no concentration of power in the hands of a few. Decisions are made collectively, with input from all members. Leadership is shared and rotates based on the needs of the moment. Third, they are grounded in spiritual practice. This does not mean they all follow the same religion or belief system, but it does mean they recognize that life is sacred, that there is a deeper intelligence at work in the universe, that we are here to serve something greater than our individual egos. Fourth, they are committed to sustainability. They live in harmony with the earth. They grow their own food. They use renewable energy. They minimize waste. They honor the cycles of nature. And fifth, they are open. They welcome newcomers. They share their knowledge freely. They see themselves as part of a larger web of communities, all working together to create the new world. If you are called to be part of creating such a community, or if you are called to help strengthen an existing community, know that this is sacred work. You are not just building a survival strategy. You are building a prototype of the new world, a living demonstration that another way is possible. And the more of these communities that emerge, the stronger the field of the new consciousness becomes, the easier it is for others to awaken, the more graceful the transition can be. Let me speak now about the children, because they are so important in this time of transformation. The children who are being born now and those who have been born in the last couple of decades are different. They are more sensitive, more intuitive, more aware. They have come into this world with gifts that previous generations did not have, gifts that are specifically designed to help humanity navigate this transition. But they are also more vulnerable, more easily overwhelmed by the density and dysfunction of the old world. If you are a parent, a teacher, a caregiver, your role is crucial. You must protect these children from the worst of the old paradigm, while also preparing them for the challenges ahead. You must honor their sensitivity, nurture their gifts, listen to their wisdom. Do not try to force them into the molds of the old world, into the systems of education and socialization that were designed to create obedient workers and consumers. Those systems are dying. Instead, help them develop their intuition, their creativity, their connection to nature, their capacity for empathy and cooperation. And if you do not have children of your own, you can still support the young people in your community, in your family, in your sphere of influence. Mentor them, listen to them, create spaces where they feel safe to express themselves, to explore their gifts, to ask their questions. Because these young ones are the bridge to the future, and how we treat them now will determine the quality of the world that emerges from this transformation. I want to speak also about the role of the elders, because in the old world we have lost respect for age, for experience, for the wisdom that comes from having lived a long life. But in the new world that is being born, the elders will be honored again. They will be recognized as the keepers of memory, the holders of perspective, the ones who can help us navigate change because they have seen so much change already. If you are an elder, I invite you to step into that role. Share your stories, share your wisdom, share the lessons you have learned. Do not hide your age. Do not try to pretend you are younger than you are. Your years are a gift, a treasure, and the younger generations need what you have to offer, even if they do not always know how to ask for it. Be patient with them, be generous with them, be willing to listen as well as to speak, because the new world will be built through the collaboration of all generations, each offering their unique gifts. Now, I want to address those of you who are feeling a sense of grief, a sense of mourning for the world that is passing away. This grief is real, and it is important to honor it. You are losing things that mattered to you, ways of life that you valued, certainties that gave you comfort. And even if you understand intellectually that this transformation is necessary, that the old world was unsustainable, that a new world is being born, the emotional reality of loss is still painful. So give yourself permission to grieve. Cry if you need to cry. Rage if you need to rage. Talk about your feelings with people who understand. Create rituals to mark the endings, to say goodbye to what is passing. This is not weakness, it is wisdom, because grief that is not acknowledged, that is not expressed, becomes stuck in the body, in the psyche, and it blocks your ability to move forward, to embrace the new. But also know that grief and hope can coexist. You can mourn what is dying, while also celebrating what is being born. You can honor the past, while also welcoming the future. This is the paradox of transformation, and learning to hold that paradox is part of the initiation we are all going through. Let me share with you another layer of what I have seen in the readings, a layer that has to do with the energetic shifts that are happening on the planet. The Earth herself is ascending, raising her vibration, moving into a higher frequency of consciousness. And as she does this, everything on her surface is being affected. Those who are able to raise their own vibration to align with this higher frequency will experience the transition as an awakening, an expansion, a liberation. Those who resist, who cling to the old frequencies of fear and separation and control, will experience the transition as increasingly difficult, increasingly painful. This is not punishment. It is simply physics, spiritual physics. Like attracts like. You resonate with what matches your frequency. And as the gap between the old frequency and the new frequency widens, the dissonance becomes more and more pronounced. This is why we are seeing such polarization, such division, such intensity in the world right now. It is the manifestation of this energetic split. So the question for each of us is, what frequency am I choosing to align with? Am I choosing fear or love? Am I choosing separation or unity? Am I choosing control or trust? These are not abstract philosophical questions. They are practical, moment-to-moment choices that determine your experience of reality. And the beautiful thing is, you have the power to choose. No matter what is happening around you, no matter what chaos or crisis is unfolding, you can choose your frequency. You can choose to breathe, to center, to connect with love. And in that choice, you change not only your own experience, but you contribute to the collective field, making it easier for others to make the same choice. I want to speak now about the role of creativity in this transformation. Art, music, poetry, dance, storytelling, these are not luxuries, they are necessities. They are how we process change, how we make meaning, how we connect with each other and with the deeper dimensions of existence. In the times ahead, we will need our artists, our musicians, our poets, our storytellers more than ever. They will be the ones who help us imagine new possibilities, who give voice to our collective experience, who remind us of beauty and meaning when everything seems dark. If you are a creative person, do not abandon your art. Do not think that it is frivolous or irrelevant in the face of practical survival challenges. Your creativity is a gift, and it is needed. Create from your heart. Create from your truth. Create from your vision of the world you want to see. And share your creations, because they will inspire others. They will uplift others. They will help others remember why we are fighting for a better world. And if you do not think of yourself as creative, I invite you to reconsider. Creativity is not just about making art. It is about approaching life with imagination, with playfulness, with a willingness to try new things, to see new possibilities. Cooking a meal, tending a garden, solving a problem, having a conversation. These can all be creative acts if you bring presence and intention to them. So cultivate your creativity in whatever form it takes, because it will be one of your greatest resources in navigating the unknown. Let me speak also about the importance of ritual and ceremony in these times. Ritual is how we mark transitions, how we honor the sacred, how we create containers for transformation. In the old world, many of us lost connection with ritual, dismissing it as superstition or empty formality. But in truth, ritual is a powerful technology for working with consciousness, for aligning with larger forces, for creating change in the subtle realms that then manifests in the physical. So create rituals for yourself, for your family, for your community. Mark the solstices and equinoxes, the new moons and full moons, the cycles of the earth. Create rituals for letting go, for calling in, for honoring, for celebrating. These do not have to be elaborate or follow any particular tradition, though you can certainly draw on traditional forms if they resonate with you. What matters is that they are meaningful to you, that they help you connect with something larger than yourself, that they create sacred space in the midst of ordinary life. And as the transformation intensifies, as we move through the most challenging phases, ritual will become even more important. It will be how we hold ourselves together, how we maintain our connection to the sacred, how we remember who we are and why we are here. So do not neglect this dimension of preparation. Learn about ritual, practice ritual, share ritual. It is one of the threads that will weave us through the eye of the needle. Now, I want to return to the theme of the redrawing of the maps, because there is another dimension to this that I have not yet fully explored. When I speak of the United States and Europe being redrawn, I am not only speaking of physical geography or political boundaries. I am also speaking of the maps we carry in our minds, the maps of identity, of belonging, of meaning. For centuries, people in the West have defined themselves by their nationality, their citizenship, their place in the global hierarchy of power. To be American, to be European, has meant something specific, has carried certain assumptions, certain privileges, certain responsibilities. But as the old order collapses, these identities are being called into question. What does it mean to be American when the United States as we know it is fragmenting? What does it mean to be European when Europe is being reshaped by forces beyond its control? This identity crisis is painful, but it is also liberating. Because the truth is, these national identities were always constructs, always stories we told ourselves, always limited and limiting. Beneath them is a deeper identity, a more fundamental truth. You are a human being, a child of the earth, a spark of the divine. And that identity cannot be taken from you, cannot be redrawn, cannot be destroyed by any external change. So as the old maps dissolve, I invite you to let go of the identities that were based on them. Do not cling to being American or European or any other nationality as if that is who you fundamentally are. Instead, root yourself in the deeper truth of your being. You are consciousness. You are love. You are part of the web of life. And from that foundation, you can navigate any change. You can adapt to any circumstance. You can create new forms of belonging that are based not on borders or flags, but on shared values, shared vision, shared commitment to the well-being of all. This is part of what it means to be a global citizen, a planetary being. And this is the consciousness that is emerging now, the consciousness that recognizes that we are all in this together, that the challenges we face are global challenges, that the solutions must be global solutions, that our loyalty must be to life itself, not to any particular nation or group. Let me speak now about the role of truth in this transformation. We are living in a time of unprecedented deception, of propaganda, of manipulation of information. The old powers, as they feel their control slipping away, are using every tool at their disposal to maintain the illusion, to keep people asleep, to prevent the awakening. And one of their most effective tools is the control of information, the shaping of narratives, the creation of confusion and doubt. So it is more important than ever to cultivate discernment, to question everything, to seek truth from multiple sources, to trust your own inner knowing. Do not simply accept what you are told by authorities, by media, by experts. Listen to what they say, consider it, but also check it against your own experience, your own intuition, your own research, and be willing to change your mind when new information comes to light, when your understanding deepens. Truth is not static, it is dynamic. It evolves as we evolve. And in these times of rapid change, what was true yesterday may not be true today. So stay flexible, stay curious, stay humble, and remember that the deepest truths are not found in external sources. They are found within, in the quiet voice of your soul, in the wisdom of your body, in the knowing that arises when you are still and present. I want to speak also about the importance of joy in these times. This may seem strange to talk about joy when I have been speaking of crisis and transformation and loss, but joy is not the same as happiness, which depends on external circumstances. Joy is a deeper quality, a state of being that arises from connection with the source of life, from alignment with your true nature, from the recognition that you are loved, that you are held, that you are part of something infinitely beautiful and meaningful. And joy is not only possible in these times, it is essential, because joy is a high vibration and it helps to lift the collective field. Joy is contagious and it helps others to remember that life is worth living, that beauty still exists, that there is still reason for hope. Joy is an act of resistance against the forces of fear and despair. So cultivate joy, seek joy, create joy. Dance, sing, laugh, play, celebrate, not as a way of avoiding the darkness, but as a way of honoring the light that persists even in the midst of darkness. Let me share with you one more vision before we truly begin to close. I saw a gathering, a great gathering of souls from all over the world, from all walks of life, all coming together with a shared intention to birth the new world. And in this gathering, there was such diversity, such richness, such beauty. There were indigenous elders sharing ancient wisdom. There were young activists bringing fierce passion for justice. There were scientists offering new technologies. There were artists creating visions of possibility. There were healers offering their gifts. There were farmers sharing knowledge of the land. And what struck me most about this vision was the quality of the energy. There was no competition, no hierarchy, no jockeying for position. There was only collaboration, only mutual respect, only a shared sense of purpose. And I understood that this is what the new world looks like. This is the consciousness that is emerging. Not a world where one group dominates, but a world where all contribute, where all are valued, where all are seen. And I saw that this gathering was not just a one-time event, but a living network, a web of connection that spanned the globe, linking communities, linking individuals, linking hearts and minds in a shared field of intention. And I understood that this network already exists. It is already forming. And every person who awakens, every person who chooses love, every person who commits to service becomes a node in this network, strengthening it, expanding it, making it more powerful. So as we come toward the end of this message, I want to leave you with some final thoughts, some final invitations. First, do not despair. Yes, the times ahead will be challenging. Yes, there will be loss and grief. But there will also be beauty and joy and connection and meaning. The redrawing of the United States and Europe is not the end of the world. It is the end of a world, the world of separation and domination and unconsciousness, and the birth of a new world, a world of unity and cooperation and awakening is possible. It is happening, and you are part of it. Second, trust the process. Even when it seems like everything is falling apart, even when you cannot see the way forward, trust that there is a deeper intelligence at work, a larger pattern unfolding. You are not alone. You are held by forces you cannot see, guided by a wisdom that is far greater than your individual mind. Surrender to that. Let go of the need to control and allow yourself to be carried by the current of life. Third, be the change. Do not wait for someone else to save you, to fix the world, to make things better. You are the one you have been waiting for. Your choices matter. Your consciousness matters. Your love matters. Every act of kindness, every moment of presence, every choice to align with truth and beauty and goodness ripples out into the collective field and contributes to the transformation. You have more power than you know. And fourth, remember who you are. You are not just a body, not just a personality, not just a citizen of a particular country. You are a soul, an eternal being, a spark of the divine. You have lived many lives. You will live many more. This particular incarnation, this particular moment in history is an opportunity, a precious opportunity to grow, to serve, to love, to awaken. Do not waste it. Do not sleepwalk through it. Be fully present. Be fully alive. Now, before I close, I want to ask you again to engage with this message. Leave a comment below and tell me, have you been sensing these changes? Have you had dreams or visions of the land transforming? What is your intuition telling you about the times ahead? I want to hear from you because your experiences, your insights, are part of the collective wisdom we need to navigate this transition. And if this message has touched you, if it has awakened something in you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. We are building a community of awakened souls, and every person who joins us strengthens the field, strengthens the possibility of a more graceful transition. And finally, I want to offer you a blessing, a prayer for the journey ahead. May you find the courage to face what is coming with an open heart. May you find the wisdom to make choices that serve life. May you find the strength to let go of what no longer serves. May you find the grace to forgive yourself and others. May you find the love that connects you to all beings. May you find the peace that passes understanding. May you find your way home to yourself, to the earth, to the divine. And may you know in the depths of your being that you are loved, that you are supported, that you are never alone. The maps are being redrawn, my friends. The old world is passing away. The new world is being born. And you are the midwives, the bridge builders, the light bearers. This is your time. This is your calling. This is your gift to the world. Do not turn away from it. Embrace it. Step into it. Become it. The future is in your hands, and it is more beautiful than you can imagine. Trust that. Know that. Live that. And together, we will create a world that works for all, a world that honors the sacred, a world that remembers what it means to be truly human, truly alive, truly free. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. Thank you for caring. And may the journey ahead be filled with grace, with wonder, with love. Amen.